there were some absolutely wild matchups and wild upsets on Week 6 Fantasy Football Sunday. And guys, usually during this time of the year, it gets pretty tough to trade for real superstars and actual guys that are going to make a massive difference on your team. I think that there's some guys that we can still trade for just because of some of the upsets that we saw on Sunday. So today we're getting into 6 buy low trade targets before Week 7 Fantasy Football that we need to go after, guys. So please go down there and drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel to show your support. So let's go ahead and just get right into these guys right here. So the first guy I'm going to talk about, guys, like the likelihood that you're going to be able to trade for him low at this point is really low, but I just wanted to include him on here just in case you guys could get some sort of swing and deal. And it's going to be Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. Let me just tell you, the reason that he's on here is because the Cincinnati Bengals are about to explode. They're about ready to get back into that mode where they're just going to go on a tear. They're going on a tear here pretty soon. They've done it for years, and I've said it over the past several weeks in videos when people were asking me to admit that I was wrong on the Cincinnati Bengals, and I said multiple times, I'm not doing that. This is a team that has started slow every single year with Joe Burrow. 2021, Burrow recovering from knee surgery. They started out slow. 2022, Burrow gets appendicitis. They start out really slow. And this year, they start out slow. They're catching their groove. They just beat the Seattle Seahawks. And Jamar Chase yesterday was, I mean, he wasn't bad, but he didn't get in the end zone. He didn't get 100 yards. He didn't get more than 6 catches. He had 13 targets, man. Like, if there is a chance, in the off chance that you could get Jamar Chase for a deal like CeeDee Lamb and Derrick Henry or Mike Evans and Derrick Henry, I would absolutely do this. I know it's going to be probably not likely in a lot of your leagues, but you never know until you try. And I would definitely try to do something like this. See if I could catch someone sleeping on the fact that Jamar Chase is about to explode. The next guy I got up here, I just mentioned him, and honestly, I really like him as a trade target right now. It's Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So here's the thing about Mike Evans. I severely underestimated him coming into this season. I thought with Baker Mayfield, it's just not going to work. These Buccaneers receivers are going to take a step back. Well, here's the truth on Mike Evans. He is going to be probably a Hall of Fame player because he prints 1,000-yard seasons. Mike Evans has been absolutely phenomenal in fantasy football. Like, you can see the numbers on the screen. This is not adding yesterday's performance, and yesterday's performance is probably going to drop those numbers a little bit. Mike Evans yesterday only had 4 catches and about 49 yards and 0 touchdowns on 10 targets, though. And that's how you know that Mike Evans' importance is not going away. They played a very, very good team yesterday, and they lost. They played the Detroit Lions, and they lost. Big deal. We all knew that they were going to lose to the Detroit Lions. But Mike Evans continues to be very good in fantasy football because he's clearly Baker's #1 target. That's the first part. And the second part is that the first 3 weeks of the season, he scored a touchdown in every single one of those games. So here's the reason why I think you could take advantage of someone in this trade. Because the first 3 weeks, he scored a touchdown and he was really, really good in fantasy football. Then, before the bye week, in week 4, they played the New Orleans Saints, and he was bad against Marshawn Lattimore, as he always is, and he didn't even finish out the game because of a hamstring injury. Then they had the bye week last week, and then, coming off the bye week, he has a pretty bad game. So people are either forgetting about him, or they're not happy with his performance lately because they have those games in their mind and that bye week. I think Mike Evans, you could take advantage of a deal for him that involves Marquise Brown and someone like Zach Moss right now coming off another big game. Or a guy like Jacoby Myers and package someone together like that. I think you could do that kind of deal because when I'm talking about a guy like Marquise Brown who's going to be on a bad team and they're not going to be competitive much longer, and you saw the consequences of being on a bad team on Sunday versus the Los Angeles Rams for the Arizona Cardinals, and a guy like Jacoby Myers who Jimmy Garoppolo is not healthy enough for me to be able to trust Jacoby Myers long term because that's who he works well with. I will take Mike Evans in that type of deal, and that's the type of deal that I think you should be making right now. So our next guy right up here is going to be a tight end right here, and I think this is a good time to try to trade for this guy because it might be the only time you have at least a shot to get him, And I'm talking about Sam Laporta of the Detroit Lions right here. So I'll give you guys some context into my day on Sunday. On my day Sunday, I got up, it was a normal day, and obviously I knew that Sam Laporta was injured in that game. And I was just thinking, like, you know what, I think we're all going to be accepting that Sam Laporta might just be a little bit limited today. And I got some questions regarding if you should trade away Sam Laporta and if you should try to get a different tight end, someone like a Zach Ertz. Let me tell you something right now. I want my audience to not only not do this, but try to take advantage of that type of deal and get something like that done. Because here's the reality. Sam Laporta was limited on Sunday due to a calf injury. I mean, his game log on Sunday, 4 catches, 36 yards, no touchdowns. He still had 11 targets in that game. So his importance and his involvement in this offense did not go down. Sam Laporta was still every bit as involved as he would be if he was completely healthy. Sam Laporta is going to be a tight end that you should be trading for. Because here's Sam Laporta's reality. Sam Laporta is right now a top 5 tight end in fantasy football. A lot of people who have Sam Laporta did not draft him as their primary tight end. A lot of people have Mark Andrews already. A lot of people have Dallas Goedert already. George Kittle. Guys like that, where they feel like they can trust those guys more and take advantage of the value that they're going to get for Sam Laporta. I look at it the other way around. If I can take advantage of a package deal where I send away Dalton Schultz and Derrick Henry for Sam Laporta and another good running back, I'm taking that type of trade because Sam Laporta is simply too important in this offense and he's simply too good of a player. He's going to rebound. When you look at Sam Laporta's numbers on the screen, that's going to be sustainable because he's continuing to be involved. And by the way, that's with Amon-Ra St. Brown back in the lineup. That's with Jameson Williams in the lineup. That's with Josh Reynolds in the lineup. And by the way, David Montgomery just went down for the Detroit Lions. I don't know the timeline yet. I'm filming this on Monday morning. So there's no question that Sam Laporta is going to continue to be involved, and I'm trying to take advantage of a league mate who's trying to sell him and get some profit, but really is undervaluing his contributions right now. Moving on to our next guy right here. This is a guy that I feel very good about trying to go get. It's Jordan Addison of the Minnesota Vikings. So let me explain what this situation is like. Jordan Addison is coming into this season. Obviously, he was the backup wide receiver, the second string wide receiver to Justin Jefferson. Everybody's good with that, right? So Jordan Addison has a couple of big games and a couple of touchdown games, and people are excited about what his situation's like. But he's still viewed as a guy that's behind Devonta Smith, a guy behind T. Higgins, a guy behind Jalen Waddle. And based on historic purposes, I can understand why he's viewed behind those guys. So then Justin Jefferson goes down, obviously, and a lot of people are like, Jordan Addison, it's time for him. And I called it. I called for this guy to have 10 to 12 targets in this game. Well, here's what he did on the Sunday game. 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown on only 6 targets right now. So he wasn't bad, but he was not exactly what people thought he would be. So look at his numbers on the screen right here. This is lower end wide receiver 2 type of stuff right here. Here's the thing. Jordan Addison, I think you could still get him at a discount after this type of game. I think there's a lot of people who are sitting right now thinking that Kirk Cousins without Justin Jefferson is just not very good, and this offense without Justin Jefferson is not very good. And obviously, they're not as good without Justin Jefferson. Nobody's debating that. But I do know people that are like, what's the point of even having Jordan Addison if Kirk Cousins is not going to be good? And obviously, Kirk Cousins was not great on Sunday. I'm trying to package a deal together where I can get Jordan Addison and possibly more for a guy like DK Metcalf. Because while Jordan Addison may not be the wide receiver 1 on this offense forever, Justin Jefferson, it was reported this weekend that he may miss more than 4 weeks on the IR. Jordan Addison has a legit opportunity here, and I know for a fact that there's a lot of people who are not as interested in Jordan Addison after that week 6 performance. Moving on to our next guy. This is a public service announcement. I've been big on him for a long time, and those of you who were with me back in the offseason know what I'm about to say. I'm telling you, it's time to trade for Jackson Smith-Njigba of the Seattle Seahawks. I'm calling my shot right now. Before the start of the season, I told everybody in the audience that Jackson Smith-Njigba would be better than DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett right out of the gate. Obviously, I was wrong about that. There's no question that he has not been better than either of those guys. But the other probability that I said, if it didn't happen right away, it was going to happen after the bye week. And Jackson Smith-Njigba looked the best that he has looked all season in Sunday's game versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And while it wasn't a great stat line on Sunday, he got 4 catches for 48 yards. Like, big deal, right? He did have 5 targets in the game. But let me tell you what's been happening with Jackson Smith-Njigba as I've been watching him with a very, very close eye this season. Jackson Smith-Njigba has only been getting targeted for the large portion of his targets have been right there at the line of scrimmage. And they're either running him on wide receiver screens or quick out routes. They're not using him down the field. They're not letting him get a slant route and get him open in the middle of the field and take the ball down the field. That was happening for the first time on Sunday versus the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's why I know right now is the time to trade for Jackson Smith-Njigba. If they keep getting him opportunities like that, it's only a matter of time until he gets in the end zone, until he has multiple catches down the field for a 100-yard game. I'm telling you, right now is the time to trade for him because it's another week of disappointment for Jackson Smith-Njigba. People are dropping him at this point, so you could trade him for literally nothing and come out with a player that really has a shot of being a breakout star on your team that you paid for next to nothing. I am totally trading for Jackson Smith-Njigba. In leagues, I don't have him in because I've got him in tons of leagues already. Our last guy on the list that we're trading for here is a guy that I've been discussing as a ascending asset for a lot of weeks now. I'm trading for Damen Pierce of the Houston Texans right now. Damen Pierce, I've called him an ascending asset for weeks. And the reason I've been calling him that is because when you look at his numbers on the screen, nothing's impressive, obviously. I'm not saying that this guy's a running back 1 all of a sudden. I'm not even saying he's a high-end running back 2. But Damen Pierce has improved each week. He's obviously handling the majority of the volume each week. And Houston, that's a good team. That's a real team. And here's the reality of history of running backs on bad teams versus good teams. Last year, there was only one team that was a bottom 7 team that had a running back that was a top 20 running back. So obviously, having Houston at 3-3 right now does not guarantee that Damen Pierce is going to be some superstar world beater. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that Damen Pierce's value is still really low right now. You could get away with trading for a guy like that and sending away a Jerome Ford or a Gabe Davis type for Damen Pierce, because here's the reality. I'll take a guy who is clearly the workhorse running back on his team, on a team that is way better than initially thought with a pretty strong schedule moving forward. I will take that type of deal for Damen Pierce, because Damen Pierce's schedule moving forward, we need to go through that really quick. They've got the Panthers after the bye week that's coming up this weekend. Then they've got the Buccaneers. Then they've got the Bengals. Then they've got the Cardinals. They've got the Jaguars, and they've got the Broncos. They've got some really good matchups coming up here. I am trading very low for Damen Pierce because his value is super low right now. So let me know who you are actively trading away and trading for before Week 7 fantasy football, and what questions you need answered before the weekend too. And make sure to stay tuned. We've got our waiver wire video coming up this afternoon, so I will see you guys in that video.